Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, when one is born as a human, one immediately comes in with an entourage of helpers and guides and beings who are there to do the same job, both as humans, both as like other type of beings from different dimensions, or people give them different names and things, and some people don't give them any names. It's just annoying.
Mm-hmm. And then that continues throughout our life as we strip away some of the what's not real and move closer into alignment with our soul's purpose.
Yeah.
And of course now we're running out of time in a linear sense, but we're moving into a period where there's no time. Isn't that correct?
Well, linear time is very artificial and very localized.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you see. It's not about no time, but it's just that time where you can move back and forth and sideways if you want.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. And we've been kind of conditioned to think in terms of, one way and time to get to work.
Yes.
Lunch break. Lunch break is over.
Yeah.
Time for the second job.
Right. Yeah.
How can we, as awakening beings of light, gain and maintain a balance in the world of such vast corruption and evil, which is constantly bombarding us?
Creating a balance. When I find that I personally get overwhelmed with some sort of something that they're sending,
right.
or I get overwhelmed through my own silly mistakes, by putting into my body or in my environment things that are vibrating negatively, and it just overwhelms me because there's so much stuff coming from elsewhere. The thing to do is just process that vibration. You process it, and you don't. The process methods that I use are very similar to Lucia René's. It's basically accepting, allowing it to be there, and infusing it with light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we process those, and really it's an agreement whether we agree to engage with their reality or what they're sending or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do I agree with this, yes or no? And it's really amazing because I've heard, and personally speaking also, I grew up in Nottingham in England, in a neighborhood which was one of the worst crime-ridden neighborhoods in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear it in the news and stuff. That was happening, but I honestly can tell you that I never saw anything. I never experienced anything. I used to walk home at around 10 o'clock in the evening or whatever, or even later when I was a teenager. Nothing ever happened to me. I never saw a drug dealer or anything. It was and I was in the same environment of all these people that were having all these things happen to them. So it really depends. And I've heard of other people having that same experience from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So it's really, do we agree with it or don't we agree with it? And if something triggers fear in us, then we process the fear first and then make decisions.
And it sounds like it puts us in a bubble of safety and almost like, in a sense, in our own dimension.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as there are forces of the dark that have usurped our abilities and our powers and kept us dumbed down and the rest of it, we know, are there also forces of light from the highest realms outside of the matrix of control which are working from that side to bring down the veils which keep us in bondage?
Yeah, I do believe there is. I've had some information about the support and their... I've sensed their support, I sense their protection, because I don't use any type of psychic or otherwise protection, even physical, right? And I personally had death threats and all sorts of bill threats and direct threats, to stop doing what I'm doing. But it's no, I'm not agreeing with that. I have no attention on it. I'm not going to agree with what you're saying or doing. But at the same time, I feel this huge protection around me, from at a physical level as well as a psychic level. So I'm pretty sure that, they're there.
Well, I heard your story about your run-in with the dark being of which I highly recommend. We probably don't have time for you to recount that tonight, but I highly recommend that people go to your site, ascension101.com or Inelia.com. I think it is Inelia.com.
Yeah.
And listen to that entire interview, because it is a mind-blowing interview, and it's you can get something out of it every time you listen to it.
Yeah, the interview is in the video section of the ascension101.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, what about, I'm going to just throw something out here now. What about the ETs? We hear that there are intergalactic confederations, galactic confederations, that there are good ETs, there are bad ETs, there are medium ETs, that they come in all shapes and sizes, that there are archons, and so on and so forth. What's your experience and advice about being involved with extraterrestrial information?
Okay, well, basically there are hundreds of species out there and in the planet which are related to us and have a big say or interest in what we're doing, because it is going to affect them too. You see, because they share some genetic material with us
right.
some time ago. So we're kind of related, we're cousins.
Yeah.
And whatever happens to us is going to have repercussions to their own species. And this is the reason why some of them want to stop us and some of them want to encourage us, right? Some of them are enslaved themselves and are enslavers and stuck in that type of matrix. And so they feel very threatened with our ascension process because it's going to affect them. They can't help it, right? They're genetically connected to us. And all I can say is, if you focus on those, send them love and light, because the more love and light they receive, the more they themselves will become more aware and will become less enslaved.
Okay.
So, and I recently stated that I'm willing to collaborate with any species that supports this process, right?
Right.
And that's absolutely true. I don't think that if you think of ETs and other species as neighbors or cousins or relatives who are just as aware, or maybe more aware than we are. Some of them are. But they are just different species. They're nothing extraordinarily different. They're not here to save us, because it's all about the collective, human collective, and that's what we're doing. They have, many of them have sent their own evolution, like people who have evolved in their planets, to incarnate here on the planet for two reasons. One of them is so that they can experience directly what's happening here in their own collective, and also to, as many of them have volunteered, to come into a much thicker, lower vibrational reality, so that they can help raise the level of vibration just by existing here.
Right.
Not doing any missions, not doing any work, just by being here alive as a human, right?
Right. Right. And of course, I've read some of your work and some of the work of others who say that there were many waves that came in from higher dimensions that got, shall we say, densified by the dark and didn't make it quite, they weren't able to remember their mission.
Right, yeah, because what happens is, as you enter this particular game board, part of the agreement is that you're going to get amnestized or whatever, amnesia, right?
Right.
And, I mean, one chooses what one remembers or what one forgets. Yes. And many have chosen to just incarnate as a human being, a regular human being, forget who they were or whatever, so they could have a proper human experience. And they're very vulnerable. I mean, a lot of these individuals are like babes in the woods, it's like extremely vulnerable. One can identify them because they're so innocent, especially growing up. They think everybody's good.
Yeah.
And they think that everybody has the planet and their welfare in mind, and they can never understand why anybody would say something selfish, or why anybody would say tell them a lie or whatever, you know.
Yes.
And lies are a sure sign of darkness, you know. It's like, as when I was younger, I remember I would always know when somebody was lying to me, but I would accept what they were saying because I thought, well, it must be really important for them to say that. So I would just accept what they're saying and pretend that, you know, I believe it. But, you know, it's like, I didn't understand the mechanics of it, that as a person says a lie or thinks a lie about somebody else, their vibration actually lowers. So, yeah.
Do you see that you've worked with Lucia Renee some, and I know she's done a lot of work on the subtle levels.
Yeah.
To undo some of the darkness that has been created around various places and sacred sites and so on and so forth. Yeah. How is that progressing?
Lucia and I have been working very closely together since last July. That's July 2010, and we continue to do so. We you know, chat at least once a week, if at all possible, and we do energy work, and we do have a read of what's happening and take a look and see what each other is doing and help each other out. Because, for example, Lucia is a warrior, right? She's
yes, I love her.
You know, she's a mystic warrior of the first degree. You know, she's
yeah,
and she's tough, and she's extremely intelligent. She's she's a statistician as well. What's not statistician? The word when you make plans. What's that? It's not. What is it when somebody will look at a situation and make a plan of action?
I don't know.
Well, she does that. And also she's really good at structures, and one of the things is I don't comprehend and I don't understand structure, and she was able to show me quite a lot and teach me quite a lot about that, and how structures can be created and how as tools or how they function within their bodies in order to help people in their work, you know. So yeah, we've basically moved away from the battles because we were getting into the thick of the battlefields quite a lot, but then the work changed. There was an actual change at one point, and I feel it's when the war was won, and then we both, without actually talking to each other at the time, but we kind of took the same decision at the same time. We weren't going to do both. We weren't going to be teaching and helping people with their ascension process and create battle at the same, not create, but join battles at the same time. Because we can't do everything, right?
Right.
There's only 24 hours like in a day in this physical body, and this physical body needs to sleep, needs to eat.
Right. And
so we couldn't do both, and we both decided we're going to move on, although we do check in on it every now and then to see how things are happening. And there is occasionally entities who want to engage, and we do engage them. But it's always by just looking at them and not agreeing to engage in their terms. Because the dark beings will always want to engage at a fight level. They want to engage to destroy, to enslave, to fight, in a way that I used to do in the past. I would engage them that way too, because that was the way they wanted to engage. But then, as I changed my work here, the engagement comes in and it's just standing and being, right? And not engaging at that level, but simply focusing on them and not doing anything, because as soon as one focuses, then source comes through, and one is just a conduit, and it goes through to the other being, and whatever happens or needs to happen to that being happens. You know? It's not really up to us to judge or to fight them or to do anything, really.
That makes so much sense, Inelia. It really does. It really does. To stand in your own being and allow without judgment, and that opens up the channels for Source to work through us.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of putting it.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, it's like I'm human too, and sometimes I get sucked into the drama,
I mean, a linear sense. But we're moving into a period where there's no time. Isn't that correct?
Well, linear time is very artificial and very localized.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you see. It's not about no time, but it's just that time where you can move back and forth and sideways if you want.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. And we've been kind of conditioned to think in terms of, one way and time to get to work.
Yes.
Lunch break. Lunch break is over.
Yeah.
Time for the second job.
Right. Yeah.
How can we, as awakening beings of light, gain and maintain a balance in the world of such vast corruption and evil, which is constantly constantly bombarding us?
Creating a balance. Many names is just annoying.
And then that continues throughout our life as we strip away some of the what's not real and move closer into alignment with our soul's purpose.
Yeah.
And of course now we're running out of time, correct?
Yeah, basically when one is born as a human, one immediately comes in with an entourage of helpers and guides and beings who are there to do the same job, both as humans, both as like other type of beings from different dimensions, or people give them different names and things, and some people don't give